NFC Swag Part 2, talking about a lot of things that you are going to want to know coming up next on Saturday Morning Marketing Smarties. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Saturday Morning Marketing Smarties. My name is Roland from MinMax Media, and I've been dying to have this event today. We've got two brilliant people to bring on information about NFC swag and the whole near-field communications concept, and we're going to introduce them to you in just a moment. For MinMax Media, we preach the minimum you need for the maximum impact. So the stuff that we bring to this show are things that are going to enable people to do that concept for themselves. And NFC is a concept that I think is going to be something very, very major in the future. And I want to make it really clear. The reason that I would suggest using NFC is not to be another marketer or advertiser, but it actually facilitates an opportunity that the communication and the expansion of your message completely differently from an advertising environment. So we're not proposing that NFC become another simple advertising thing, but a different type of building process that results in profits automatically, but evades the normal traditional push selling proposition. So I mean, that's the nature of what we're doing, and so that's what I hope for my show to convey today. With me today to help me out is Tim Longwell. Tim, come on board and tell everybody a little bit about yourself and let them know what you're going to be doing wrangling comments today.
Hi, I'm Tim Longwell with Longwell Art at longwellart.com, where we help you reignite your creativity for your health and happiness. And if you're not comfortable creating your dreams and ideas into artwork, we're glad to help you. And we'll be helping Roland today, bringing comments into the live stream from the audience, and if those on the website, feel free to comment or ask questions. We're glad to have you here. And we have Roz Bundy, we have Barbara Quick, Weewig, and Lowell Ann. And let's see if I'm missing anybody else here. It doesn't look like it yet, just yet anyway. So that's who we have so far.
Okay, thank you very much, Tim. I appreciate it greatly. Now, when we get rolling here, I get so involved with what I'm doing that I can't pay enough attention to the people in the audience. They kind of understand that now, but they forgive me, and then we get them into the show and involved in the conversation by the use of Tim. So he does a very, very important job here. Thank you very much for showing up and joining us today. Now, without any messing around any further, we got to introduce James, who will then we'll pass the mic over to Mark. These guys are deep into the subject of NFC, and they're going to be able to explain much more about it. So let's first of all meet James Craddock. Why don't you come on board, James? Tell them a little bit about yourself.
Hi, everyone. My name is James Craddock, and I'm the creator of 40 Story and NFC Swag. 40 Story is using content marketing to specifically tell stories across the web, fictional stories that integrate the marketing message. On that platform, when near-field communication started to emerge, we had created enough of an infrastructure to be able to lay it on top of this idea of NFC, and what that did was create this concept of phygital networking. So I look forward to sharing all that with you. Thanks for being here.
That's very, very cool. Thank you for being here. Welcome. And now we are also welcome Mark. Mark Strong, it's his first time here today and for us. And we would like to welcome you as another guest on Saturday Morning Marketing Smarties. Come on, Mark.
Well, thank you very much. I'm J. Mark Strong. I'm the business director for Multi-Radiance Medical. I started the veterinary division back in 2010, and we've been really pushing research into this area of laser therapy. It has so many great advantages because it has no side effects, We understand the mechanisms of action. And so we have a large audience out there of customers, whether they're veterinary or on the human side, and they're in pro sports, physical therapy. On the veterinary side, we're in all the high-level disciplines with show jumpers and eventers and companion animal pets. I was on the live chat this morning with a vet in Thailand working on elephants with a really horrific foot injury. So we've been doing a lot of research, peer-reviewed research, published research now on laser therapy, the great benefits that it can bring. NFC represents a huge potential for us because education is such a critical feature. We can actually put those tags on our lasers inside that silicone sleeve and allow people to simply take their phone and tap that laser and get an educational video. So this gives us great ability to make our treatment protocols consistent. They're saying the same thing every time because we have the video they can tap into using a near-field communication device. That's fabulous to us. We can communicate with our vets, create a network of vets around the world. We have thousands of them out there now. And this is a great way to introduce new research papers to them, new specials, new case studies, which they always love. So this represents a huge advantage to us in a way to use the new technology to create multiple benefits, but education is a key one.
I love it. And I really appreciate having you here today because this program is based on education-based marketing. Now, do we have products to sell? Tim has things to sell. I have things to sell. But we focus on educating the people. The theory is when you educate the people, they find the understanding of why something is so critically important. And once they actually understand it's important, there's a value there. And then that creates the whole want and need measure. Got to have it, you know. And this technology is going to enable so many things beyond any part of marketing and traditional marketing that even exists today. This is going to enable us to do things that we couldn't do before. So that's what we're pursuing here and want to educate the people. Now, thank you very much, Mark. And I'm really excited about what you bring to this conversation today because the veterinary concept and helping animals is going to be close to the heart to a lot of people. Mm-hmm. So anyway, let's talk briefly about the concept of security. Because last month when we came on, we finished this long spiel, the whole show. And near the end of the show, some people were saying, what about security? It's going to be this, it's going to be that. There were a lot of suppositions. And the thing that I did, because I got right on it, I started researching it. And the basic concept for me, and the audience you can fill in, Mark and James and Tim, you can accent this too. Sorry, you know what happened? I took my meds this morning and suddenly my body is feeling like I'm in an ice box. And it's not that cold outside, so I know it's the meds. Whew. Anyway, the concept of the near field communications and the NFC tags is that people think that it's going to be used in the same way that the entire field of the internet is invaded by people who want to influence us illegally or inappropriately. And the thing is, any technology can be invaded somehow. But the very nature of NFC, near field communication, suggests that you have to be right close to the phone in order to intercept the field of the communication, the transfer of information, and that automatically limits the opportunity for invasion. Now, there are other concepts for invasion, but basically, unless someone's in your face or on your phone or stealing your phone, which is another subject completely, the NFC is reasonably safe. And it relies on the choice of the user to do a manual opt-in. So everyone might be thinking, well, manual opt-in, we're moving backwards in technology, aren't we? No, because inevitably, the handheld connective device is not going to leave humanity. We're always going to be manually touching something, handling something, and a simple tap on your phone, which is everyone's used to now. That the thumbs are big. We're probably going to grow bigger thumbs as a result of technology. But I mean, everyone's used to doing the tap or the slide or the swipe. So with that, this fits right into the everyday standard use that we all fit into. Now, go ahead.
I just want to throw a quick comment in there, because what you're saying is very true, but the technology keeps advancing as well. This is that new iPhone X, and I love the fact that when I put it in front of my face, that's what unlocks my phone. So that's a whole new step, and the accuracy of these things is phenomenal. I've read a lot of the reviews. They've been trying to hack into it, trying to spiff it, try to fool it, and it's been very, very difficult to do, even with twins. So this will probably be something you see on a lot of phones very quickly with the face detection. Thousands of different points, mapping out the face to make it very unique and very, very secure. So we may even make this more difficult to hack going forward. And of course, that's so important. You know, I live in a world with medical rules and privacy protections with HIPAA, and it's to a lesser extent, but still there. I work with primates, and it's very much a reality there as well, as far as what we can talk about and all these things. So security is of paramount interest to us. And James, I'd love to hear more of your thoughts about how this technology enhances and protects security, because that's a paranoia we live with 24/7 now.
And I really like the analogy. Oh, I'm sorry, James, your microphone's off. Go ahead.
No, I was just making sure I wasn't one of the primates Mark was referring to.
Well, now that wasn't essential for our presentation, but I guess
I'll leave the banana.
Well worked for bananas.
I'm sorry, I'm out.
So the point.
So, but
go ahead.
well, along that same line, you know, the nice thing about this, that is not in my hands. If the technology across an industry falls apart, that's not something really I even spend a lot of time on, because I have no real control over it. You made some great points that there is some touch points that have to happen before the NFC is activated. You know, you got to be logged into your phone, etc. So at this time, you know, leaving it to the industry to manage that. And not only that, but the information that we're putting through these pods, it's at each individual's control level, right, to determine whether or not you want to put some sort of information across a POG. So once you're through the POG and into a website, then it's standard type of encryption. 30 years ago, I was sitting in the back of a car in Silicon Valley with a friend of mine's boyfriend who was pretty much a Sheldon stereotype, and he was a programmer in Silicon Valley. And him and his buddy were sitting there, and I said, "What are you doing?" They said, "We're working on the first encryption for Visa to make sure that credit cards can get across the web. You can pay your money across the web." And I said, "Well, wouldn't that be totally unsafe?" And they looked at me and kind of smirked, and they said, "Not when we get done with it." And from then on, about 6 months later, it became kind of culturally started to hit the mainstream. And for 2 years, I heard people saying it'll never work, you know, this, that, and the other. And what you find is where there's opportunity, where there's a market, there'll always be a fix for any kind of obstruction. So
Sure.
I kind of see that in a very similar thing.
Well, it tripped me out some years ago because the technology was advancing, but I went to a gas station. They were still swiping over those machines, right? And because of me charging gas at the station, someone got a hold of my number and bought a parrot and tried to mail it to Washington, D.C. Now, I don't think that they ever got it, and they didn't charge my credit card. But I mean, the hacking happens regardless of technology or not. You know, we get intercepted and charged unwarrantedly. And that's going to happen, but there are safeguards. And with the NFC concept, a lot of it has to do with personal use of the stuff. You know, the platform that we're on, computers in general and the internet, we're going to have problems. But the users are the ones that cause most of the problems. As a technician, an IT guy that I knew used to always say, I said, well, what is the biggest problem that you run into with the people that need your help? He goes, user error. And, you know, if we didn't have user error, we'd probably be 99% safer than we are now. But such being the case, I do think that there's a lot of good stuff about NFC and so forth. But there are a couple of questions that I have. So maybe Mark and James can attend to these things. When the NFC tag is approached, if it's not carefully housed in something, it can be tampered with. But we're only talking about one tag. If someone comes up to the tag itself, it actually can be intercepted, and the information on the tag can be adjusted. Have you heard this?
No, I haven't specifically heard it. Do I put it past somebody to figure out how to do that? No. Sounds par for the course.
But the thing is, we're only talking about one tag, if that's the case. But apparently, if the tag, if a hacker or the person that is under that mental influence gets close enough to the tag with their device, they can do something to change the information on the tag. But you've got to admit, that's pretty limited.
That would be limited, and that would be them going up against the manufacturer of the tag, who no doubt have resources and expectations of, you know, managing that kind of infiltration.
Exactly.
But there's an issue here too, because the tag itself, if I understand it correctly, each tag has a unique identifier number. And for our purposes, when we energize that tag by tapping it with the phone, we're causing that tag to burp up its URL, so to speak. And that web address is what we're taken to, which is a dashboard, which gives us all kinds of access to content. So it would seem that that unique identifier makes the tag difficult to alter physically. And can you get a benefit from changing the URL on that tag and get some financial benefit there? I'm not sure about that. I know we're using it for education and marketing purposes. We're not using it for transactions, but if the time came where we did, we would still be using a system like Apple Pay or Chase Pay. And when you're not conveying the credit card number across the internet, or worse, email, you're really taking a lot of the risk out of the equation. The beautiful thing about Apple Pay and some of these other approaches is you're no longer putting the credit card out there. It's not transmitted. So that alone is a huge step towards safety. James, you may be able to take that further, but the unique identifier, if you physically alterate the tag, it probably won't even work anymore. And if you could get a hold of the web address, I'm not sure what that would do as a benefit for you either, but we're not putting anything financial where you could access and take money from it for our purposes.
Right. And just for the sake of conversation, you know, we could hash the what ifs forever. The reality is, if somebody can scramble these tags, all of these tags industry wide become kind of useless. Why? Because I could stand at the intersection of I could look for every Coke tag and go and scramble it and drive that traffic of those tappers to me. But guess what? The thing about these tags are, and the thing about these POGs and the idea behind the network is, I'm inviting you into a mindset when you come to my tag. If it's a poster, if it's a POG, and we're already starting a conversation. And if I get in there and your messaging is confusing, if you're inviting me to tap in to learn about NFC and, you know, you start trying to sell me Raggedy Ann dolls, I'm going to be like, what's going on? So somebody hijacking, which people do all the time, they hijack your URL, right? Somebody hijacking a URL that, you know, has its potential, and you can think of the many smut ways that could be used, right? But other than that, that would be a manual process. And one of the elements of security and one of the elements of the appeal of a phygital interchange, whatever it may be, is that it is physical. You have a lot of control as the user in this situation. And if somebody is hosting a network around an NFC swag POG, that means they are maintaining the integrity of that network and the experience that's happening. That goes on them, it creates an onus on them to really give you that experience, no different than the rest of the web. So I don't know.
So at the risk of really being simplistic, if your tag is no longer taking you to the destination that it was supposed to, you're probably going to call us up and say, my tag isn't working properly, and we're going to send out a new one. And the cost of that POG is not all that great. So that's probably the real quick stop, simple way of looking at this. If it's not working properly, we'll send you a new one, and that's that. Period.
Yeah, there is an advantage to these being so lightweight and so inexpensive. It creates all kinds of ways to solve problems that you couldn't solve before, because of the amount of money that it would take. In this case, yeah, replace the tag. So, but that be case by case scenario. And I'll leave it at that.
the ability to change the URL en masse as well, right? We can go to our dashboard.
Yeah, I didn't want to get into that because within the software, you can completely create an experience for people link by link. And, you know, throughout the day, you could change the link 10 times, which we actually do in some ways. So we can talk about all that, but
if there's a problem, we can fix it.
Yeah.
We can definitely put this to rest for now. And if it becomes a bigger problem in the future, we'll attenuate our discussion to that. But basically, I would like to say to the audience out there, we don't have to worry about security, not right now. And this is a very effective way to promote ourselves and to develop a following and a fan group and a movement using the concept of what we have to offer here today. So we're going to briefly share with you who our guests are today. And I want you to contact them, if you will, if you have any questions. Might help if I play the music. Oh, that's nice. Let's try that again. That'll work better. Okay, so James and Mark are our guests today, and obviously they've got a lot of experience and stuff pertaining to our subject, but I'm going to turn it over to James at the moment and ask him to bring on some new ideas concerning NFC and some of the news affecting his business and what it's expanding into. So James, I'm going to turn it over to you and let you just turn you loose. Microphone again.
Thank you, Roland. Yes. I have about 34 minutes. We have about 34 minutes till the end of the show. I'm going to take 3 or 4 minutes just to kind of catch you up. Then I'm going to, Mark and I are going to discuss 3 areas that Multi-Radiance and the campaign we are building addresses, which is universal. I think it'll open up a lot of conversation. Short term, we have made some various advances. I want to show you, just because somebody might be interested. This is a roll of tags that I get from thin film, and they come on a roll, and this is paper. It's pretty simple. They do have machinery that'll automate the removal of these and the insertion onto whatever you need. We are currently working with several converters to put that production process in place. When you see the tags, though, they're very durable. You know, and you can just peel them off. If you're just making individual tags, you can peel them off or individual pogs, and you can simply affix them to the back of your pog. And I'm buying them in bulk here for this purpose. But you yourself, I mean, I know your audience wants to be able to do this themselves. If you utilize some of these strategies and bought your own tags, you could pull off the same thing. So these are pogs, and we'll talk about these. This is a plastic pog supplied by plasticprinters.com, and these are cardstock pogs. This happens to be one for our musical and theater group here locally, OVOC. And this is a pog that I created. It's a paper pog that I went to the store and just bought some paper rounds in order to send it out to a prospect and give them a sense of the actual artwork that would be on the front of the pog, because otherwise they just get one that has my branding on it. But the conversation starts here. And what this particular pog represents is a 4D story. So this doesn't even represent a company. This is strictly a story that will engage kids and give them an experience around the lessons that are taught in the story. These pogs are a vehicle, if you will, to deliver the NFC tag to the appropriate place at the appropriate time to engage your prospects or your clients or whoever's in your network around a very specific idea. And that's the concept behind any marketing campaign, of course. But what was being referred to earlier is this is more of an inbound marketing kind of approach, meaning we're not looking to interrupt, we're looking to compel you to tap in on a regular basis. And we do this with a very energetic campaign that moves you around, engages, offers giveaways and things of that nature. Now, that's just in a regular marketing campaign of wanting to engage prospects and bring them in. What I want to show you through what we're doing with multi-radiance and what Mark speaks to much more eloquently, and I enjoy listening, is the idea of taking these POGs and integrating them into a process, or in this case, a laser rental program, in such a way that we solve problems and we create very simple intersections and connection points that solve those problems because of this physical to digital interface that we have. So the first area that we are working with multi-radiance is in marketing. There's marketing, there's sales, and there's operations. And marketing is the idea of being able to, compel your audience to start listening to your message. You're not at that point in the customer journey so much that you're selling them as you are that you want to compel them. And there's different strategies by using these POGs that you can get in front of your clients, whether it be direct mail, whether you be mailing it to someone who could connect you to a larger network, or whether you're physically handing them out. So Mark, I'm going to let you kind of just take it from here to talk about the idea behind the veterinary network and this idea of marketing, try to contain it in the part where this helps us reach out and bring in this circle of veterinarians, and we'll talk later about how the vets hit the clients on the sales piece.
So let me start by describing the problem. These lasers have been used by practitioners now for years. I started this division back in 2010, and these are great at the practice. But we had a lot of situations where dogs and cats are fearful of going to the vet, but they have osteoarthritis, and it's the most common condition you find at a vet. And these arthritis conditions can greatly be benefited by laser. Laser is wonderful for pain management, reducing inflammation, and wound healing. And these are three very broad areas. But the problem is that you as a pet owner have a difficult time getting into the vet frequently enough to get that series of treatments. So consequently, you might make it for the first or second treatment, but then the daughter has a ballet, this, that, the car broke down, all these things that get in the way of modern life. Meanwhile, your animal suffers because they don't get the full series of treatments. So we said, what can we do about this? Well, the answer to that was coming up with the MyPet laser. Now it's a laser that your vet prescribes for you and you take it home. Well, this is great, but then what about teaching them exactly how to use it? And what about teaching all of your techs exactly what to say? So, and vets don't get much of a marketing background in vet school. In fact, there's really none. Very little business training and no real marketing training at all. So I developed all the elements to go into this. There's a rental template form so that they capture the credit card number. There's a protocol guide form. There are videos. There are posters to go up in the exam and the reception room. And we put all those on a nice business card size flash drive, which was great. And then you see the information about our rental program on the back, and you see this fold out tab. And this is great and wonderful. And now we can mail these out to our customer base, and we can have these out to people at the various educational vet conferences that we go to. And then I met James. And what that did was it took this piece and took it out of the equation, because now we can put that same information and more and update it. You know, once this is sent, it's static. If they mail it back to us, we can add more information to it. But once it's sent, it's static, it's gone. With the dashboard, we have infinite ease of new content, new approaches, new case studies. Whatever we want to put on that dashboard, we can do it in a matter of a minute or two. So now we've simplified the process by taking another piece out of the equation. And now it's that one thing that you have with you all the time, your smartphone. I mean, who leaves home without it? And if you did, you're going to go back and get it. So it's so ubiquitous today to have a smartphone. And now, when you have the POG, like James was suggesting, inside the silicone sleeve here, right on the laser itself, and any one of our different lasers, including our console versions, now for consistency, you as a vet tech or the vet can be talking to the client about their pet with a post-op condition or pain management, or maybe it's near the end of life and you just want to keep them feeling comfortable, or an arthritis case. Well, all those videos now can be accessed through the dashboard, and you can see those by simply touching the laser and seeing it on the smart screen. This is so cool. And if you want a larger viewing experience, well, I found out from Apple it works with all of their Pro iPads, and many of their other smaller iPads. And with Android, it's the last 7 generations of their phone and several of their tablets as well. This was like, wow, what an epiphany this was. So now as an educational tool, this is perfect. We can show people exactly what laser therapy is all about, how it has no side effects, because so many times the drugs that you're getting from your vet, you as a pet owner are very leery of these things because you've been reading about consequences to kidneys and livers. They have no side effects using a laser. So now we can have a simple video on what the technology is all about, a video that tells them 1, 2, 3 how to use it, because there are only 3 settings on this laser. And in the equine world, they use the Activate because it has more power plus this blue wavelength for infection. But it makes our ability to transmit exactly what to do as easy as a tap. And then we can introduce case studies and specials and games even. So all of this makes the whole thing simpler. And you know, the fewer pieces we have to deal with, the more likely we are to use it. And the more useful we make it, the more value it has. So they're going to want to hang on to that pug and keep it in their wallet or their purse or their backpack. I was thinking this morning about how I'd love to take that pug, put a hole in it, put a little tether on it, and put it right on my backpack where people can see it because I travel constantly, but to make it readily available. So anytime, anywhere, I can just tap it and show people what it's all about. So now I see with near field communication, a technology that has so much tremendous value to my present customers, my future customers, and I can change it up all the time. That's phenomenal. Roland, back to you. You're muted.
Wow,
There
I thought I launched a ship that was going to go on for an hour. Okay, well, the concept that is obvious to me is that we can use this as an educational device that is very flexible and changeable and adaptable, so that we don't have to send a new pog or something. We can use the very same tag to further educate or to advance or to go to the next stage, or even do a series of webinars or training. So it's like this week it's the first training, the next week we can change that to something else using the same initiation device or the same tag. So James, do we have some good examples of what some of the other applications and things? We also had someone ask that they wanted Mark to go into more of the details, and you did. So I would like to know from the audience, did we cover? Oh, I think it was WeWake was asking. Did we cover your question, WeWake, and did it sufficiently answer the question?
If I could,
So
let me add one. If I could add one more thing to this.
Absolutely.
I mentioned that vets don't get much in the way of marketing training, and they're finding out how well these lasers work for clients at home. We just had a very large vet practice up in New York, and they have 6 locations, 14 vets. They've had 18 of our lasers. They tested them for 32 weeks. They came back and said, Mark, it's a 10 out of 10. It's an absolute home run. We had no incidents of any problems. 90% and more thought it was better than the other laser that we used to use because this one's now so safe. So with 18 lasers, they have a big problem. How do we know where they all are? And we need to be scheduling these things because we're getting a lot of calls from people now that say, hey, I want to be next. I want to be next. Well, now, this is what's so cool about this NFC tag. As a veterinarian, I can literally, with our next step, as you call it, next step in functionality, as a vet, I can roll out of bed in the morning, touch my screen, hit my dashboard, and I can see exactly where all my lasers are. And I can see how much money they've earned me to date that month. Wow, that's really cool. So as a vet, I'm concerned about where my lasers are, and I've got clients that want to get it next. And so now I have, again, just 2 steps in the process, and I can see where my lasers are because, again, each time they tap in, it's showing up on a map. So I can see where my lasers are and how much money I've generated that month. That's really cool. So now the vet practice up in New York, and this is called Central Veterinary Associates, for them to add 50 more lasers is just a drop in the bucket. They have 28,000 clients up there, and they're part of a network of 424 veterinary hospitals. So they've proven to themselves that the laser therapy works great. Now I introduce them to the NFC piece where they can have consistency of education. We can offer refer a friend promotions to the clients with their pet. We can offer refer a vet promotions to the veterinarian. We can offer them specials to buy multiple units so they can take care of more of their clients. So all of this ability to communicate to them in a very non-invasive way, because the world doesn't need another email bothering you campaign. It needs something that you can use. If this were the POG, I can tap it anytime I want to find out what's new. and this I'm going to want to share with friends. It's so neat and so compelling. I'm going to want to tell other people about it. So I get to put out new videos all the time to update my content, my case studies, and I make it a very useful technology for my clients because they want their pets to be better. When you have a horse that's injured, you want to rehabilitate it and do the most complete job you can of healing. And so now when you, as a veterinarian, can recommend this to your client at the barn, they can perform that treatment twice daily, do a much better job of getting a much better outcome, and they can track their lasers at the same time. I haven't found a downside yet. It's been an amazing technology that we can put to use immediately.
So I really wish that we had more time to dwell on this, and I'm probably going to be bugging you for more details about the actual process of what you go through when you laminate out your education, how you follow up and do these things, because these are the exact case examples of how people can use them, but they have to get the vision of how the end result is going to benefit them. And that's very, very difficult for people to envision before they actually see the example and can wrap their brains around it. So, well, James, can we add a couple of examples to this, ways people can use it for marketing, and anything that you can add to that?
Sure thing, as soon as my microphone unmutes. And so I want to add a couple of things. First of all, what Mark did there was he talked about these three areas of the operational area where while they're using the laser, it has operational effect. The marketing aspect is we can get these POGs into the hands of veterinarians and into the hands of veterinarian groups so that they can, when they swipe in, see the dashboard they're going to use. They can see videos and not so much sales presentation, because once they're there, there's already a level of interest. And that's what's interesting about this. You get to move past that part that's most expensive online of trying to get the right audience. You get to connect very specifically with them. And then there's the sales technique, the aspect of the veterinarians being able to just take these POGs and hand them to their clients in a conversation about that horse or their animal, to say, look, in the comfort of your home, tap in and understand how our program works, and we can get you started whenever you're ready. And so all of these different pieces are perfect for this particular vertical. Now you ask about other applications. And you also mentioned, Roland, that it's difficult to get your mind around this, and it very much is. I've been dreaming of this and working towards it for several decades, honestly, not fully recognizing what it would look like when NFC materialized, because I didn't understand NFC. I just knew the concepts would come to fruition, and it takes time. So what I offer is on nfcswag.com. If you go there and join the Tap-In Network, which is the network that I've created around these POGs in order to teach and to disseminate NFC strategies, you go there and join that network, fill out a form to give me an idea of what you're going to, how you're anticipating utilizing NFC swag or NFC in general, and I'll send you a POG and you'll be part of the network. You'll be able to tap in, and I do everything that I promote in there as far as running contests and updating data, etc., so that you can learn about NFC. But from within that environment, you can kind of get a sense of, oh, this is how I could apply it to my own world and see some real world examples that way. Plus, let me tell you, when you receive this in the mail, first of all, I'm not just sending it blank. I'm going to tell you, when you send that form in, I'm going to respond in a video that when you tap in, you're going to actually get a response to your question. We're going to have this ongoing kind of engagement, if you will. Now, that's me managing a network of people with POGs. And just the other day, I had a bunch of tickets that I was in possession of for a dinner for a nonprofit thing, and I put it out on my network that I had these tickets available. If somebody were to have tapped in and saw that I had tickets available to a free dinner, they would have got a free dinner. Somebody says, well, what about all those that didn't tap in but could have if you'd have shot them an email? And I say, right there is the difference between this paradigm and the one we're used to. And it requires a bit of understanding and trust and touching this and really getting to connect with it to understand why it's so powerful to shift that paradigm to a much more enjoyable interaction with your prospects. So now here's another one. I think I had mentioned it earlier. This is Mobius Key. This is a 4D story that we started syndicating last year as we were rolling out 4-dimensional storytelling. And this one connects to a simple story. The story syndicates out across 20, I think, different digital channels on a regular basis. And it's a rich story. It's about artificial intelligence, has a lot of great characters. My 12-year-old son thinks it's just awesome. He loves to read it, and he likes the whole concept of it. And what we're doing is we're making it now so that you can tap into the story. And what you're doing is you're tapping into that environment, that experience, no different than the veterinarian network. It's going to be a feel-good experience. There will be an emotional connection to it, which is why I always ask about that, because if you can dial in that emotional connection, this is a very clear line to make that connection. And so that, in that case, is just a story. Now, why would I syndicate a story? Well, if I syndicate this story and I find sponsors who want to sponsor the story, no different than sponsoring a show or a magazine ad or something of that nature, then the sponsor gets real estate on the mini pogs that we distribute. They get real estate on the dashboard that the pog leads to. And there's other ways to create that relationship. Well, by doing that, then you can give these away for free. Well, imagine if you can give away 10,000 pogs in a community where, you know, the schools hold 500 to 5,000 kids, and all these kids at one time suddenly have this new experience that they're passing around, and you incorporate the ability to trade these pogs into whatever environment you create a buzz that becomes very viral. Another one to show you is, again, OVOC is the Okanagan Valley Orchestra and Chorus. I'm the producer for a Broadway-style musical that we put together every year, about a $60,000 budget musical. We held 4 concerts a year. We have the largest orchestra in this region up here in Northern Washington, an amazing orchestra that provides lots of attention from the community. But that being fragmented everywhere amongst all the different types of marketing materials we use, this brings it all into one place. And when you tap on it to find out maybe more about the orchestra, etc., you get a real behind the scenes look, if you will, at what we're doing and updated status and everything else. But what makes it sticky and people wanting to tap in is we've created a community calendar. Now with a tap in, you can always find out what's going on in the area because people are contributing to that calendar. And you know, the local business bureau, the what do you call it in a town, the business network, anyhow, I'll think of it here in a second. They have a calendar and always have. It's just off the top of my head, I'm missing it. But those calendars, community people like to contribute to. Well, in a very simple way, and I just used an online calendar system, you can integrate that now into your network, and now you've served your network with a higher purpose, something that's going to cause them to want to keep tapping in. So it doesn't matter what your network's about. You just simply find what that theme is, that conversation, and you build around that. And that becomes the POG, that becomes the dashboard, and that becomes the experience that they want to engage with on a regular basis at, like you said, their own will of tapping in.
Yes, I think the term you were looking for was
to tap into one more application.
Go ahead, Mark.
Sorry. Just one before we run out of time. This has such tremendous relevance for clinical studies. We produce a line of wearables, and it's so important to collect the data. When did the patient use it? How long did they use it? And there are lots of medical studies out there that require logging of data. And if it was so easy for a patient when they take a device home so that the clinician has feedback on whether they're using it as appropriate and at the time intervals they're supposed to. So each time I get ready to use a device, I tap in, and now I'm letting my doctor know in real time that I've tapped in, I'm using that device, and then I tap out when I'm finished, or have a simple little form on the dashboard where I can check the boxes on what time I did it, how long I did it. This is enormously valuable to clinicians doing clinical studies in the field because it's all about the quality of that data. So this will be another huge area for this.
I hope these examples are giving people ideas for how they could use it in their own circumstances, because it's going far beyond the concept of advertising. It's facilitating a whole new wave of functionality that is simply non-existent before. So I want to bring on, before we go a little further, comments from Tim. What do we have, Tim?
Wewick is asking, so the NFC thing ties the customers back to you with one tap of their phone to the NFC thing. Am I correct there?
That is correct.
Okay. Roz Bundy is saying, from what I'm hearing, the NFC swag is the initiator into an URL that is updating is done by the owner of the URL info. So a series of videos could be there all at once or weekly, or products could be sold through a cart, or a progressive course could be offered, etc.
That is absolutely correct. So the concept is not only do you have control over the URL that you send people to, you can change the URL on demand. So it doesn't have to be static one URL. What else, Tim?
And Susan Joyce Leaf is asking, you're calling that a 4D story. The story is really just an idea in people's minds. It sounds like you're using the POGs to access syndicated television type content. Are you involved with creating that content, or are you broadcasting content that somebody else has already created?
Awesome. Thank you, Susan. That's a great story. And we've had quite a journey of describing the benefit and the power of 4D story, because people are steeped in traditional concepts. There are several that you can check out. If you go to the Philly, Philly, thephillygrind.net, that's a 4D story. MobiusKey.com, that was the prototype 4D story, actually the third one that we did, but the first production one. These stories, the Mobius Key was a story we wrote. We wrote it on a weekly basis, and we take the content and we post it on a weekly basis. We build a website, and then we syndicate embellishments across all the social channels throughout the week. So as you're following them, the story little by little starts to evolve in your mind. And you made a very keen observation. It does kind of do that. And now with the POGs, we simply are able to extend the story into the physical realm so we can share it physically. And you could share the story to where, you know, when they tap in, they come into a dashboard, and the POG could, you know, represent the story itself, or the POG could represent different characters of the story, depending on how much you want to break it down. And when they tap in, now they're into the story where they can access a control panel of a variety of things. In this particular story, Mobius Key, there is a submarine, and it goes on missions in the story. And what's cool is I realized a mission could be 3 days or 2 days, whatever, of me telling people to tap into their POG, because I'm going to move the URL of this POG around the internet, and I'm going to take you to different stops along the way. Maybe I'm going to give away some prizes. Maybe I'm going to create an event and tell you to come to the event that's happening, you know, if it's a local community type network. And I can create an experience that they could engage with over those 2 days simply by tapping in and finding out what the next thing that's happening is, and however you set that up is up to you. So a 4D story is totally taking a client, figuring out what their theme is, and mapping it to a fictional story that you can then tell across both digital and phygital devices in order to engage your audience and then compel them through entertainment to be aware of your brand, et cetera. And then we have lots of strategies to drive, you know, whatever you want to do from there. But yes, thank you for asking that. 4D story was the precipice, it was the foundation that was laid to understand that people are migrating towards more of this kind of entertainment-based marketing, this inbound marketing, and recognizing that when the phygital world came about, it would be a natural extension, and it has proven to be that. And it's really the reason that we have so many strategies that take the NFC concept out of just using a single tag to do one thing and building a network of multiple tags in order to create kind of this larger concept and this larger scope of engagement, if you will, across this digital platform.
So I don't know if you're getting the picture, but James is really a genius. And what he's explaining is the bits and pieces of a thing, but that he's seeing the overview that's way above and beyond what we can as street corner marketers. And so you really have to engage with James to come up with the concepts that are really going to be more advanced, not just traditional marketing, but really influential marketing. He has the idea. So before we close up, we got about 10 minutes or less. We have another comment from the field, Tim.
Yeah, Vivek wants to know, can the tag be made unique with a login unique ID info so that it's used to send a member as a perk?
So yes, if you could think of the POG as this is just a gateway. This is a URL in this particular case. You could think of it as a QR code, except that it's more functional. But once they come into here, they're coming into a web environment. And in that web environment, you can do whatever you want. You can create password protected areas. You can do if you're familiar with mashups, you can take all kinds of different programs and things and mash them up and create a unique experience however you want to do it. And the simple fact that you can move people around using the URLs, that in itself creates kind of this sensation of, wow, well, that means I could, for a day send them here and a day send them there. And if I do that across 7 different days, I am creating a message. Well, that would be great for seminars. That would be great for this educational piece that Mark brings out. So yeah, the sky's the limit on what you can do there.
I think
something else. We're always looking for things. We're looking for things at conferences that we can give away, swag, if you will, to people that they might want to hang on to. And we've all seen the mouse pads and the pens and the keychains and all that stuff. But now there's something like this POG that you're really going to want to hang on to because it's always going to be updating and compelling and refreshing. Something on a very mundane level. Manuals are very expensive to print. The idea that we can put our manuals into a dashboard where they have a quick reference, because manuals typically read them, but now there's a way for us to save money on our printing costs and still convey exactly how to use these lasers correctly. That's a huge advantage for us. And when I mentioned clinical studies, the patient can take photographs of a condition and then send it into a website that we give them on the dashboard. So we're getting really priceless feedback on how they're progressing. All this is enormously valuable to us as companies, as marketers, but also as clinicians. So I just see the possibilities are endless. It was such a pleasure to meet James. And we've had many hours of conversation since, because we can both start to see the implications of how this could become and exciting. Whereas advertising, you're going to have an engaging experience to be wanting to come back and experience again.
Well, this is all just great stuff. We thank you very much, Susan, for your comments, and all you people, WeWake and Lowell Ann, making great comments and instilling a lot of ideas for conversation. I hope you got some of the stuff that we transferred in the conversation today. Tim, is there anything else?
Yeah, real quick, Lowell Ann wants to know if you can give some sense of a cost of using this technology.
Sure thing.
That was, we were going to wrap up soon, so I know we don't have much time, but it's very important for the people to understand what their entry-level buy-in could be. So I know that this is developmental, but it's very important that we give them an idea how they can participate.
Sure. And there are 2 things that I want to say to that. Number one, you can have your own campaign. Your own campaign is totally dependent upon what you're trying to accomplish. And as this develops and we have more tags and inventory, et cetera, it'll be easier to bring someone on at a couple $100 a month in order to start building up their tags that are in the field. Number 2, though, if you could not create your own campaign, and some people don't even have enough branding to really do it, or the time or whatever, you can always sponsor someone else's campaign. Or you could create a concept that 4 or 5 of you come in on and sponsor, such as a story. No reason that 4 or 5 people couldn't say, hey, we want to sponsor a story that will attract people into our shared common concept. And so there's a number of ways that we can work within that strategy in order to bring somebody along. And I built this primarily so that we would have a way to serve and to benefit from serving at every level. So ultimately, I want to be able to tell someone, rub 2 nickels together and get started. And that's my goal, scaled all the way up to enterprise solutions.
Cool. I wanted to announce also that I've been inspired to invest a little bit myself. So James and I are speculating right now and conspiring to put together a campaign where I can promote the Smarties show, because I think it's getting good enough for people to watch. And I want to expand my outreach, and I'm going to use the NFC tag swag, the POG concept, and see if I can use that to implement more viewers of the show. So that's coming up in the near future. We'll tell you how that goes and report back to you. Mark was saying something about the conferences and things, and someone in the last show a month ago was saying, oh, then that means you can put a NFC reader or a station in the back of a webinar or a seminar when you have the people gather, and they could go back and pass the thing and tap in right there at the end of the webinar. It could be on a table in the back of the room. And I thought to myself, no way. You're going to manufacture these POGs and give them to every person as they walk through the door. When they get there, you give it to everybody. It's not so it doesn't cost enough not to do it. So this concept of NFC swag for webinars, I see that as being a big hit. You don't have to give them a big bag full of goodies that they got to carry around. You hand them a POG. You hand them something small that looks nice and looks like it's worth something that they're going to put in their purse or their pocket and keep, and it's going to facilitate everything that they learn at the webinar or at the conference. So that was great stuff. So as we're trying to wrap this up, we've only got a few minutes to go. James and Mark, what can we do to summarize what we're doing, or is there anything that we need to touch on before we go?
James,
I'm gonna let Mark have the floor. Oh,
okay. Well, the thing that is so remarkable about this is it really is a little bit like magic. When you just tap a POG with your phone and it just opens up this universe to you. This is really magical stuff. It wasn't that long ago that we didn't have any of these tools at our disposal. And the remarkable degree to which the technology has evolved and miniaturized. We all remember the Logable that we used to have as a computer, and now it's this crazy thing that is so thin. So to have something as tiny as a POG, as inexpensive as a POG, it is this literal gateway to whatever we can imagine making available based on their needs, is really remarkable stuff. And I see the POG as the one thing that they get home after a conference, they dump out all the contents, they start pawing through it to see, do they want to really keep this pen and this keychain and this flyer and all those other stuff? And then they stumble on the POG and say, well, let me give this a little tap. Boom. What the heck is this all about? That's going to be that essence of magic that really gets people excited. And they say, no, this is going to hang on to. This is a really neat thing. And I'm going to go show somebody else this. That's the beauty of it to us as marketers, something that becomes viral, useful, and you want to share with your friends. That's unique. And that's why we love being in a first mover status to jump into like veterinary, because the industry is a lot of different. This network of vets very interested in ways that we can help increase the probability of and then motivated. We can help.
I'm really hoping that that was not the recording that everyone heard, because you were probably saying some really important stuff, and we got a jumble on your last 30 seconds of your presentation there. But maybe if you would like to repeat it, that'd be fine. But it's really important that we convey the significance of what we're bringing to the table here. Is it going to be the wave of advertising in the future? I doubt it, but it's going to be really extremely important to the people who get the concept and use it effectively. And it's going to avail a whole different type of marketing to the world of advertising. And to me, this is the way to go. It's my style. I love it. Selling without selling, promotion and inbound marketing, that you're building a fan base and you're building brand ambassadors, and you advance your cause without trying to push things down people's throats. I love it. Education-based marketing at its best. So, James, you want to cap the show with anything?
I just want to tell everybody that I do remember hearing about your credit card being stolen by the guy that bought a parrot and sent it to DC. I think he was dubbed the politician thief. That's all I got.
Well, that's as good a way to end the show as I've heard. And I thank you very much. I really appreciate the audience members. I'll go back over the comments, and we'll attend to everything that we can. And if we have unanswered questions, we'll get back to you with something in the comment stream or an email. And thank you very much for your participation. I want to thank Tim for wrangling comments and helping us out there. And very much, I want to thank our guests, Mark Strong and James Craddock, for bringing so much valuable information to us today. Thank you guys very much.
And I just want to invite everybody to NFC. Oh, there it goes.
And so we're going to wrap it up. We're going to give you some viewing on how to get in touch with both Mark and James momentarily. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for participating today on Saturday Morning Marketing Smarties. Thanks a lot. So I'm wondering if I actually played music or I'm just imagining things. I couldn't hear it before, and that was the reason that was playing after we finished up, right? Anyway.
My screen still says live. Are we off?
No. We take a few moments here to brand and show everybody who the guests were today. So great. Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend.
Thank you. Thank you both very much. Thank you all very much.
And we are off air. Well, that was fun. Oh, maybe we're not off air. It still says live to me.
Yeah, I'm seeing live too.
Oh, that's fun.